Mayong adlaw mga amigo, my name is MJ and welcome back to another video, and today I'm going to talk about all the 20 books that I have read for the month of March. So yeah, I know 20 books is a lot, so let's start this video so that it will not be longer than it should be. So the very first book or books that I have read for the month of March is all the 3 books in the Folk of the Air trilogy, which consists of The Cruel Prince, The Wicked King, and Queen of Nothing. And personally, I really enjoyed reading the series. I just love Jude so much. She is ruthless, she is smart, she is ambitious, and I just love her. And I also love Carden because Carden is just a himbo. He's just a himbo for me. Like, even though he is cruel, he is still a himbo for me, and that's why I really enjoyed reading this book series. Although I was a little bit disappointed in the ending because I have expected this really huge war because there is this build up in the second book, but I still enjoyed this whole book series and would recommend this book to everyone. So the next book which I have read for the month of March is Red Queen by Victoria Aveyard, and personally I have a great history with Red Queen. I read this when I was in college and I really enjoyed it. However, rereading it as a 23-year-old, I really did not enjoy this book. I find the main character to be rather irritating, and I really did not like Maven and Cal. I find them to be, I don't know, just really bad male MCs, and that's why I did not enjoy Red Queen as much as I enjoyed it when I was like 16 or 17. The next book which I have read is of course an omegaverse book. Like, I don't know if I can go through a month without reading one, and it is Havoc Killed Her Alpha. And personally, I did not enjoy this book as much because it was marketed to me as something similar to Pack Darling, which is actually like my favorite omegaverse book of all time. It did not really met my expectations. However, if this was not marketed to me as something similar to Pack Darling, I think I would have enjoyed this book more because we have this broken omega and broken set of alphas, and if it is not marketed, I think I would have enjoyed this. So the next book which I have read is a book that was recommended to me on Book Talk, and it is The Serpent and the Wings of the Night, and I just love this book so much. I can't wait for the next installment, which will be released this April, and it is about the girl who was adopted by this vampire king, and then she was then put into this tournament because she has this wish to be equal with her father, and if a person wins in this tournament, or a vampire specifically win this tournament, she will get any wish from this moon goddess and all this stuff. And of course she fell in love with one of the competitors, some Hunger Games style, and then this competitor actually betrayed her in the end. It was so delicious because it is a slow burn fantasy romance, and I just enjoy that. I really enjoy that, and I can't wait for the next installment. I highly recommend this book to anyone, honestly. It's just so good, and the writing style, oh my goodness, it's just French kiss. The next book which I have read is Never King, and it is a dark romance book, and it's actually a Peter Pan retelling with age-up characters, and I really enjoyed reading this book. I think the plot is great, and I think I'm going to continue reading the series because of the plot, because I find it rather fascinating because it is based on the original fairy tale with a twist, and I really enjoyed reading that. However, I must say that if you're going to read this book, please start it with discretion and actually look up the trigger warnings, because there are some parts in the book that are actually very triggering, and to be honest with you, there are some parts as well that I'm quite uncomfortable with. However, I still enjoyed reading this book because I think the plot is fascinating. It is very political, it is very dark, and I really enjoyed reading this book. The next book which I have read is A Deal with the Elf King, and I saw this on Book Talk a lot because it is marketed to me as a really good fantasy romance, and personally I really did not enjoy reading this book. I think the plot is great, I think the plot is fascinating. However, the writing style, it did not do it for me. I think this book would have been great if it has been more descriptive, because this book is a fantasy romance, and I have expected like the fantasy aspect of the book be described more, but the romance is more described than the fantasy aspect of the book, which is quite disappointing. So yeah, I really did not enjoy reading this book and would not recommend this book to anyone, honestly. The next book which I have read is Broken Bonds by Bree. It is a reverse harem book with omegaverse type of relationships, because this world is divided into two, the magical and the non-magical, and the magical has this bonds like circulating around them, in which they have this center which is quite of similar to the omega aspect of the omegaverse, and then there is this pole surrounding the center which is quite similar to the alphas. And actually, Broken Bonds is about this girl who ran away from her bonds, and the bonds actually caught her because the bonds or the group of men are actually these powerful beings in this magical like community. So yeah, it is about a girl acclimating with her bonded or bonds or pack, I don't know what to call them, but anyway, with this group. And then she discovered her powers and all this stuff, and personally I really enjoyed reading this one because it is a slow burn type of thing. Actually, there is no romance in the first book because they are just like accepting each other, like they are just starting to accept each other. However, I must say there is a part in this book in which I was particularly triggered by. There is a sexual assault scene like in the later part of the book, in which I really did not enjoy reading that because it makes me feel very uncomfy. So please look up the trigger warnings before picking this book up, and I think that is why I did not rate this book as high as the others did. However, I still read the second book of the installment, which is Savage Bonds. However, I was not feeling it to continue this series anymore because I was really bothered with what happened in the first book. However, the second book is much more enjoyable than the first one, I think. I actually forgot my feelings anymore, but I think the second book is much more enjoyable than the first one. The next book which I read is another Omegaverse book, and it is One Fucked Up Pack by Sarah Blue, and it is about these hockey players who actually develop their own pack. There are 3 people in this pack, and they met their omega while they're on vacation, and I really enjoyed reading this one. It is a contemporary romance type of omegaverse, and it's just so good, so delicious. However, there are some parts in the plot which are predictable, but I still enjoyed reading this one, and this is also one of the main reasons why I looked up hockey, and most of my For You page is now filled with hockey players, and I don't know how to feel about that, honestly. The next book which I have read is also an Omegaverse book, and it is In Trouble by Hannah Hayes. Was it In Trouble? Oh yeah, it is In Trouble by Hannah Hayes, and it is actually about this rebellious Omega, and personally I already forgot as to what transpired in this book because I was reading it like really fast, and I actually forgot. But I enjoyed some parts of the book from what I can remember, but most of the time I did not enjoy it compared to like the other books that I have read in the series, because there are about 4 to 5 books in the series, and I think this is my least favorite book out of all because it is more smut than plot. But still, there are some parts which I enjoyed in this book. So yeah, I guess so. The next book which I have read is also an Omegaverse book, and it is Forbidden. And personally, I did not enjoy this book as much because during that time when I was reading this book, I was looking for a darker Omegaverse, and this is just straight up fluff and sweet, and the alphas here are just really sweet and cuddly, and I know that I would have enjoyed this book more if I have read it during that time when I'm looking for something soft and fluffy. But during this time I was looking for something dark, so that's why I did not enjoy this book as much. The next book or books that I have read is actually the duology, which is These Hollow Vows and This Twisted Bonds, and personally I did not enjoy these books at all. I actually made a book review for the duology, and I'm going to place a link down below. And I really did not enjoy this book because the main character has this not like other girls mindset, and don't get me started with Sebastian, which is actually one of the boys in the love triangle. Like, I don't know why he is included in the love triangle because in the first place he is an enemy in my head. He basically tricked the main character a lot of times despite saying that he loves her. That is just like very contradicting to me, and I did not like his character at all. I just want to like crush him with my bare hands, and even though the character was redeemed in like the second book, it was not redemption for me. Like, it is just good riddance. I just really hate his character so much. The next books which I have read is actually the continuation of the first book which I have read in February, and it is actually Feral Wolves and Kings of the Moonlight, and it is about a girl who was abducted by some of these fey wolves, and then she was saved by another set of fey wolves, and she lived with these fey wolves and they took care of her, and then she basically fell in love with them, blah blah blah. And actually I really enjoyed the premise of the book. I think it is really interesting, and I really enjoyed Feral Wolves, which is the second installment, because it is much more political, it is much more dark and gritty, and I really enjoyed the push and pull between the packs because they want her, because the blood, like her blood, actually treats like savageness that they feel every month whenever they transform into the wolf or something. So I really enjoyed reading that. The Kings of the Moonlight as well is really good, and the ending of Kings of the Moonlight, it threw me off. I did not expected that at all, and it's just so delicious. However, I don't think I'm going to read the next installment soon because I'm very scared to actually continue with this installment, because there are 12 books in this installment, and I know that if I'm going to continue reading all of the books in the series, I will go through a massive reading slump, so I'm just taking it slow. The next book which I have read is actually a new release from Hannah Hayes, and it is Pack Rivals, and it's basically just like the title, Pack Rivals. There is this new Omega coming in the city. She came from the countryside, and when these two big packs who literally own like half the city, and they are basically nemesis, they found this Omega and they like have this connection to her. However, they made some sort of a bet as to which pack will get her first, and blah blah blah. So basically it's a love triangle but between packs, and I just enjoyed it so much. Like, I am just a sucker for love triangles if they were done good, and in this book, the love triangle, or the love, I don't know how many like side it is because there are a lot of people involved, it's just so delicious and just so good. And the ending, like, you go girl, like, I just love the main character of this book so much, and I think this is one of my most favorite omegaverse book aside from Pack Darling, and it's just so delicious. And the last book that I have read for the month of March is the beta, and I'm not going to talk about this book in this video because I have seen a controversy surrounding the author in which she posted allegedly on Instagram that posting trigger warnings is not good, and considering that the beta is actually a dark book, like, she should have placed like a trigger warning into this book, because to be honest, I was triggered by a lot of things in this book. So those are the 20 books that I have read for the month of March. Thank you so much for watching, and if you have any comments, please place it down below and let's discuss, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye guys!
Oh, 1 mile in fog patches and showers early Friday, but improving to greater than 6 miles on Friday morning.
Stars shining bright.